On the line, Texas Congresswoman Jasmine Crockett. Representative Crockett, how are you today?
I'm well. How are you?
I'm doing wonderful. First, let me thank you for the hearing that you held with authors of Project 2025. That was very necessary and is a very patriotic thing to do. I think that Americans need to hear their testimony.
No, absolutely. Interestingly enough, the hearing allegedly was not about Project 2025. But if they were going to put authors of Project 2025 in front of us, the hearing was going to be about Project 2025. So I don't think my chairman was very appreciative of us highlighting how terrible of a document this is.
Well, I assure you, the American people are extremely appreciative. So I thank you again for that. We were about 40 days and 40 nights before November 5th. Can this
Mm.
flood of enthusiasm turn into victory for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz at the polls?
I think it can, but it's about us, really deciding that we're willing to do the work. And the work means that we not only have to go and vote, but we've got to go and tell other people to vote. And we also have to correct the record. There's a lot of misinformation out there. There are people that believe that Trump was this amazing president because maybe there was a stimulus check, not knowing that it was Speaker Nancy Pelosi who initiated the legislation in a democratically controlled House, and it was a democratically controlled Senate. And the only thing that Trump did was actually slow down those stimulus checks by deciding that he wanted his name on them. And this is something that can be Googled. You don't have to believe me. You can Google it and find out about it. So it's really important that we, really look to why is it that our lives shifted, and where were we when we decided that we were going to fire him the first time? We were in a place in which they literally had these freezer trucks, and that's where they were putting our deceased because the pandemic was really overwhelming us because we did not have a leader that wanted to follow the playbook that had been left for him by Barack Obama, who, when he was faced with what could have been a really bad situation with Ebola, he actually got it under control almost immediately. The difference was we had somebody that wanted to play games with us and tell us to inject bleach into our bodies. We've got somebody that's out here stoking fears about Haitians, talking about how they're stealing people's pets and eating them. This is not what a leader looks like, and at least not a leader of the United States. We need someone who's serious, that can be taken seriously, because if you will go so far as to repeat some random thing that you saw on social media in the middle of a debate, can you just imagine what people like Putin and Xi and Viktor Orban and all of these other guys that he worships, they'll be able to tell him anything and cause harm to American people as a result. So, it may be funny. I don't know. I don't really know what the attraction is with him. But it is scary and it is harmful. And we have to take the presidency seriously because a lot of our freedoms that we thought we'd earned, we are currently seeing them roll back. And if you don't like the Supreme Court, then you absolutely should deplore this man because it's his Supreme Court and he wants to put two more up.
Speaking with Texas Representative Jasmine Crockett, she represents the good people of Texas 30, even on the policy side. And this was on full display during that debate, if you even want to call it a debate that took place a couple of weeks ago. Donald Trump doesn't even have a plan. He's got concepts of a plan. And this is a man who was already president. People may say, well, we don't know what Kamala Harris's plans are. Let me be abundantly clear
Oh
for
my
folks.
gosh.
She has a $50,000 for entrepreneurs that want to start a business, $25,000
Yep.
down payment assistance for those people that want to be homeowners and build generational wealth, $6,000 tax credit to help families if they want to bring a child into this world. So even on the policy
Yep.
front, she has him bested. Inflation is coming down. Now, there's another issue that I think people are concerned about. Prices have not come down. But Representative Crockett, isn't that more a reflection of corporate greed than anything that Donald Trump did when he was in office?
Oh my gosh. Yes. Thank you so much for saying it. One of the other things that I highlighted in that hearing that you just referenced was that inflation was global. They are trying to pretend as if there's something that this administration did that made inflation be what it is. And that's not to say that there aren't decisions that can be made that can cause for inflation, but it was global because it was a global pandemic. Because if you look at the shirts you're wearing, if you look at the shoes you're wearing, it's going to say made in China 9 times out of 10. It's made somewhere else, right? And so it's a supply and demand situation. When you think about chips, everything that we have is electronic in some way. And so it takes a chip. Well, we weren't producing that many chips. And so we rely on suppliers from throughout the world. And it really hit us hard. This meant, when it came down to car production, when it came down to TVs, when it came down to everything, we were limited on all those things. And so when you limit how much people have access to, it's kind of like limited edition, right? Limited edition always tells you that it costs more money, okay? So that's what we experienced. Now, those supply chains, they've loosened up. There's still more work for us to do, but we know things such as the Chips and Science Act that was led by my predecessor, who was the chair of the Science Committee. It provided for incentives. And so now, there's been a multi-billion-dollar investment in my state, specifically around chips and manufacturing. We know Samsung started a plant that I believe the investment is somewhere between $26 and $28 million in Ohio, which means jobs, right? So listen, it's not only producing more jobs, which is why we've seen record unemployment under this administration, and we've seen so many new manufacturing jobs, which we've not seen the creation of manufacturing jobs in a long time. Everybody kept saying they were being shipped out of the United States. Is there still more work to do? Absolutely. And as someone who's been an attorney general, she understands about consumer issues because that's who normally goes after those that are harming consumers. And so she called out the corporate greed and what they were doing. And so we know that maybe about 2 weeks ago, one of the leaders over at the Kroger organization admitted that they had been price gouging. And so this is something that she wants to crack down on. I know everybody remembers, and let me not speak for everybody, but I remember when I was younger and sometimes I didn't necessarily have enough money in my bank account, but I knew that they would overdraft me. So that was my little loan to myself until my next payday. But no, overdraft fees, they weren't cheap, right? And you only want to get hit with one. You didn't want them to pile up. Well, overdraft fees, they've been dropped. They were charging us usually about $35, $40 a pop on those. Now I don't think they can charge you more than $5 for those. When we're talking about medical debt, the people that you literally are down. You're in the hospital, and now you get hit with medical debt, and that medical debt then hits your credit report, and then it causes you a problem as it relates to being able to buy a home and other things, get a car so that you can get to work. They're trying to make sure that you're not saddled down with the medical debt on your credit report as well. This is a woman who understands the plight of the everyday person. This is a woman who was not born into this world and given $400 million and somehow managed to mess it off. This is a woman that came up as a child of immigrants who did not have a silver spoon, but worked for everything that she got and believes in the American dream and believes that we all should have access to it.
Representative Crockett, by the time people hear this interview, they would have received their mail-in ballots. Mail-in ballots went out in the state of Wisconsin last week. Somebody might have that ballot. They may open it. They got two very distinct choices on that ballot. As a last push to folks who are receiving their ballots and will have their ballot by the time they hear this interview, what do you say to them?
Listen, I say do your research, and research isn't jumping on social media. And take it from me as someone who has benefited from people actually listening to me on social media. I'm not even saying, don't go there. I'm saying go to trusted sources. Go to a newspaper that you know has existed for some time and read up. Go directly to Donald Trump's page. Go directly to Kamala Harris' page. Definitely go to Project 2025. What I tell people all the time is if you want to figure out where the people stand, the candidates stand on the most important issues, whatever your issue is, Google Project 2025 and say housing. Google Project 2025 and the environment. Google Project 2025 and gun reform. Google whatever it is, women's reproductive access. Google that and Project 2025. If you agree with it, then absolutely vote for Donald Trump. If you disagree with it, then definitely vote for Kamala Harris. And don't just vote for Kamala Harris, vote up and down the ballot. I remember being in Wisconsin campaigning for my very good friend Mandela Barnes, who really should be the senator of the state of Wisconsin today. I mean, it would have made a huge difference, and he lost by like 1 point. You can do this, Wisconsin. Y'all ended up making sure that you ended up with a Supreme Court that recognizes that we need some sanity around reproductive access. If you want to further restrict your access when it comes to your body, then vote for Donald Trump. But the reality is that this is a guy that has bragged about the overturning of Roe. This is a guy that does not care about the fact that women are dying. This is a guy that is mentioned in Project 2025 over 300 times, and in that document they say they don't even want you to have access to contraception. I am fighting, and I am going everywhere, and I promise you, I am trying my best to figure out when I can get to Wisconsin, because this is bigger than any one person. It has to be about us. I want you to be selfish with your vote and say, I deserve a leader that sees my humanity and respects my humanity and respects my freedom. And there is only one candidate that does that. The other one only is trying to seek his own freedom from a jail cell. That's it.
Texas Representative Jasmine Crockett, and also national co-chair of the Harris-Walz campaign. We got about 40 days and 40 nights until the election. Why don't we flood the ballot box with votes for Kamala Harris and Tim Walz? Always a pleasure, Representative Crockett. Hope to talk to you very, very soon, or hope to see you in Wisconsin very soon.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you.